Reminder. Dou Er Tong Ren, original Huo Guai, developed after using the Ice Emperor to nourish the sun and moon, not friendly to Tang San, Shrek, and Gu Yuena. The main CP is Huo Yuhao x Qiu'er, the deputy CP is laughing at the mortal world x Wang Dong'er, and the CP is fixed and cannot be opened in the harem. The main character group leans towards group portraits, but still focuses on Huo Yuhao. Do you believe in a world line where we are not controlled by that person? A new star is slowly rising, and the Tang Divine King is systematically deploying his plan to control the Qi luck of the Douluo Continent, but he never intended to encounter frequent changes. Can Tang San interfere with the encounter between the son of Qiu'er and the Emperor's auspicious beast? Is your daughter's life something that Tang San can control? Is the future direction of Douluo Continent something that Tang San can easily interfere with based on his own preferences? This world is not in the palm of your Tang Shenwang alone. Butterflies flapping their wings, there is always a world line for our victory. Chapter 1. The Day of Butterfly Wings. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Divine Realm. At this moment, the faces of all the gods present were unusually ugly. The turbulence of time and space is about to sweep away the divine realm, and this seems to have become a foregone conclusion. How can they not panic? Moreover, the Golden Dragon King also had a strange image, so the Tang Divine King had to leave the emotional god Huo Yuhao here to support the divine realm and go alone to check the situation of the Golden Dragon King. As Tang Shenwang walked away, a hint of abnormality flashed in the eyes of the emotional god. The butterfly god Tang Wudong is standing beside him at this moment, resisting the turbulence of time and space with everyone. Huo Yuhao turned his head to look at her. She is always so delicate and beautiful, like a carefully crafted porcelain doll, and all her behavior and thinking patterns are shaped according to the sculptor's ideas. Having such a perfect wife, parents and a family, as well as high-ranking father-in-law and mother-in-law in the divine realm, the emotional god should be very satisfied with his current life. But over time, he always felt like he had forgotten something. At this moment, in the face of the turbulence of time and space, amidst countless intersecting planes, he seemed to remember, I have forgotten the pain of losing loved ones when I was young, the death of my mentor Lao, the fragmentation of the relics of teacher Qianku in Wenqing Valley and the thousands of killings, and the oath I made in my heart on the day I captured the Ice Emperor in Tianmeng. I want this day, it won't cover my eyes anymore, I want this place, I can't bury my heart anymore. Tang Wudong, who noticed that the emotional god was not right, walked over and asked softly, Husband, what's wrong with you? Your face is so pale. We must persist until Dad comes back. If you can't support yourself alone, you can also use the power of Haodong. Haodong divine power. When Huo Yuhao heard this word, his grief reached its peak in his heart. At this point, perhaps only he will still shout the original name of this divine power. The pale emotional god shook his head to the butterfly god beside him and opened the eye of fate on his forehead. I'm fine, Wu Tong, he said. But do you believe there is a world line where we can move towards another ending? Tang Wudong was startled. Not only because of the content of this sentence, but also because the tone of Huo Yuhao's words is very calm, but it also adds an obvious sense of alienation. Since the two of them ascended to the divine realm, she has been carefully taken care of by Huo Yuhao. Where has he ever spoken in such a tone? At this moment, Huo Yuhao had no time to care about her emotions. He saw something. Where his eye of destiny was looking, there was another world line of Douluo Continent. According to the divine realm, there are many possibilities for the development of each plane, but once the future is determined, other possibilities will collapse and gradually disappear. Obviously, the world line he saw was a collapsed continent of Douluo. Because he has become a god and reached the current level, that possibility has been erased. Although he didn't know what that plane would eventually develop into, Huo Yuhao decided to take a gamble at this moment. This life, arranged by the Ice and Jade Emperor of Tang, he was unwilling to continue. He wants to use the Eye of Fate to pull the collapsed world line. Once that world line recovers under the power of fate, it will rewrite the world that has now become a foregone conclusion, awakening the self that was completely denied before it could change its fate. Come on, he whispered. The next moment, the Eye of Fate on his head shone brightly. It was not easy to trigger a world line, and he immediately ignited his divine soul, using all his divine power to move towards that position. Tang Wudong exclaimed in terror, "What are you doing? Without your power to maintain it, the divine realm would." Huo Yuhao smiled, feeling relieved. Wu Tong. No, Dong'er, Qiu'er, let's all start over again. This time, let's do it well. If there really can be another time, let's not. His second half sentence was drowned in the sound of the collapse of the divine realm. The divine realm was destroyed in the chaos of time and space, but this is not the end, but a new beginning. Because the world line that was triggered was shining brightly under the influence of Huo Yuhao's fate. Rewrite, it's starting. Starry Forest. A thin and frail boy with black hair was leaning against a tree, as if he had just woken up. On his hair, eyelashes, and thin shoulders, there were fine fragments of ice, as if he had just come into contact with some ice attribute soul beast, but next to him lay a 10-year-old wind baboon. Yes, this young man is Huo Yuhao, who has just merged with the heavenly dream ice silkworm. In theory, he had received such a huge power that he shouldn't have woken up for a moment. He had to faint until Bebe and Tanya arrived. However, he seemed to be awakened in advance by a powerful wave of soul power. The fluctuation of soul power caused him an abnormal headache. He could only reluctantly feel that the person releasing it was very powerful, and that the nature of this soul power was very close to himself, but 100 times more pure than his own power. At this moment, Huo Yuhao couldn't glimpse the story of the gods and the divine realm. He could only judge that there might be powerful soul beasts approaching here. Despite the pain all over his body, he persevered and immediately stood up, unable to linger here anymore. However, before he could take a few steps outside, he was immediately hit again by a huge force on the tree. The leaves rustled down, and his back made an intimate contact with the roots, causing him to frown in pain. Instinct made Huo Yuhao want to reach out and grab the white tiger dagger from his waist, but his arm was held down by something and he couldn't move. Humans. A female voice sounded within reach. Surprisingly, it's a human. Did that silkworm sacrifice itself to you just to escape? Huo Yuhao looked at the soul beast that was holding him down. It is covered in crystal like dreamy light gold fur, with the body of a lion, the claws of a dragon, and golden eyes with a hint of red. And the most special thing is that there is a third eye on its forehead, which is completely blood red. At this moment, these red eyes were staring at Huo Yuhao, making him shiver. This is another soul beast that I completely cannot afford to provoke. Just now, Qianmeng's appearance has already scared him a lot. How many years of cultivation is this? Huo Yuhao couldn't believe that every soul beast could treat him kindly like Tianmeng brother. In the sea of spirit, the heavenly dream ice silkworm is clearly at a loss. Is it possible that the person they just selected will be eaten by the soul beast? It shouldn't be. He confirmed that he had already hidden well when he ran away. How could there still be a powerful soul beast following him? Seeing Huo Yuhao not speaking, the big cat with 3 eyes tilted its head and approached its nose as if it was about to eat a person. The air exhaled from its nose tip was extremely hot, which made the heavenly dream in the sea of spirit howl with sorrow. How can this guy still have fire attributes? Yuhao, it's unlucky to just be a brother. We both finished playing here today. Huo Yuhao nervously closed his eyes and began to complain in the sea of spirit, Tianmeng, I don't want to be eaten yet. My revenge hasn't been avenged yet. Don't shout anymore, help me think of a way. While one person and one silkworm were at a loss, the 3-eyed big cat seemed to have noticed something from Huo Yuhao. Its red eyes blinked, looking somewhat surprised. The spiritual system, it asked. Chapter 2. Attribute Introduction, Red Autumn. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. You stay here and don't move. After Rui Beast finished speaking, he leaned his third eye towards Huo Yuhao's forehead. Huo Yuhao sat still, feeling a bit helpless as he thought, how does this scene feel like it just happened a while ago? It seems that this is also the case when I accept the power of Tianmeng brother. What kind of luck is this today? What is this about? He couldn't help but ask curiously. A method to fundamentally enhance your spiritual attributes. After San Yen Jin Ni finished speaking, he ignored Huo Yuhao and focused on completing his current task. However, she murmured softly. At this age, humans probably won't have much in their memory, so they should be able to digest it all at once. In order to ensure that this luck can stay and not easily dissipate, Lucky Beast also made an inner struggle before choosing to do so. That's right, this is exactly attribute indexing. In the rewritten timeline, Rui Beast was forced to complete attribute connection with Huo Yuhao, and she was not prepared for anything, so she was very resistant, but this time, the attribute attraction is led by the auspicious beast itself. She has confirmed her determination and can also control the degree of attraction. She did all this for the good fortune of the starry forest. She has not completely seen humans either. At the age of Huo Yuhao, with his physical condition and soul power, even with the power of the heavenly dream ice silkworm, it may not be easy to survive alone in the human world. Thinking this way, she lightly pressed her third eye onto Huo Yuhao's forehead. At the moment of contact, Huo Yuhao immediately felt a magical force seeping into his eyes and brain from his forehead, gently washing his spiritual sea. His spiritual sea, which could only be considered a small pond, is now shrouded in a strong golden radiance, expanding bit by bit. At first, the heavenly dream ice silkworm wanted to hide, but this golden light swept through every corner of Huo Yuhao's spiritual sea, leaving the silkworm nowhere to hide. The entire starry forest also blew with the progress of this connection, each gust of wind carrying the full life force in the forest, constantly surging towards one person and one auspicious beast. If there were a third person with the eye of fate at this moment, he would see a huge gathering of energy above Huo Yuhao and the auspicious beast. Hey, it doesn't seem like a bad thing, Tianmeng Ice Silkworm muttered to herself. The little girl helped Yuhao expand the sea of spirit, so brother can also put something more into the sea. As he spoke, he slightly opened his own seal, allowing some of the spiritual energy inside to be released and filled into Huo Yuhao's spiritual sea. At this moment, Huo Yuhao not only felt the essence of spiritual sublimation, but also noticed other things that flooded into his mind with this golden light. He glanced at them for a moment, and these harmless fragments were just memories of the three-eyed golden dragon. The content was all about forests of different seasons, with almost no significant changes. On the other side, the three-eyed golden dragon furrowed its brow slightly. This human memory is not as simple as she imagined. She saw the whole story of the death of Huo Yuhao's mother, saw Huo Yuhao's determination to swear revenge, and felt this intense emotional fluctuation. She also saw that the heavenly dream ice silkworm was not the sacrifice she thought it was, but had become a wisdom soul ring, now shrinking into the sea of Huo Yuhao's spirit. After reading these memories, Jane has already reached the end. The three-eyed golden dragon took a few steps back and distanced itself from Huo Yuhao. Huo Yuhao touched his ear, as if he was still in a different state. Is it over? San Yen Jin Ni nodded coldly, as if he wanted to say something more. But then, she looked cautiously into the distance. There are humans approaching here. Your companions. Huo Yuhao quickly understood and said, these are the two people I met not long ago. They should also have come to the starry forest to hunt for soul rings. Those who are close here are indeed the two Beibitangia. They felt the fluctuations brought by attribute attraction and were afraid of what might happen to the little one they had just encountered, so they hurried towards this direction. I don't want to see too many humans. The three-eyed golden dragon shook its head and walked towards the depths of the forest. Follow me and change the place of conversation. Huo Yuhao followed the footsteps of the big cat. Along the way, he maintained a curious and nervous mood. The closer he got to the core area, the more strange scenes around him, and the more dark threats he could feel. He opened one of the soul skills bestowed upon him by Heavenly Dream, spiritual detection, and immediately discovered many soul beast powerhouses wandering nearby that he could not afford to provoke temporarily. If it were only him, he would never dare to go deep into this position. "What are your plans to go to the human world?" asked the three-eyed golden dragon. This confused Huo Yuhao. "Yeah. Where do you plan to go in the future?" He just ran out of the Duke's mansion with a hint of hatred and stubbornness to hunt for the soul ring, but for a moment he really didn't consider where to go or what to do after obtaining the first soul ring. He obviously didn't want to be too timid in front of the three-eyed golden dragon, but he opened his mouth and didn't know what to say. If there is no plan, it's better to stay in the star system for cultivation. San Yen Jin and I once again initiated this proposal. However, after the attribute introduction, her tone seemed to have improved significantly. Huo Yuhao gritted his teeth and said, I'm going to school. Where to go to school? Go. Shrek. The only college that Huo Yuhao can remember now is Shrek. After all, he is the illegitimate son of the Duke's mansion, and his mother doesn't even have a title, so of course he won't receive any good family education. Except for the bedtime stories that his mother insisted on telling him every night, any books he had read were those that his two brothers didn't like to read and threw in the trash can. And he could only remember that Dai Caiheng was studying at Shrek, and Dai Huabin, whom he hated deeply, was likely to go there as well. Shrek. The three-eyed golden dragon pondered. What's wrong? It's nothing, she shook her head. Shrek, there are many strong people and the school atmosphere is particularly strong. Even if you have attributes to attract, you probably won't get any benefits alone. As she spoke, she dodged into the depths of the forest. Just as Huo Yuhao was lost, a girl of her own age walked out of the place where she had disappeared. The girl has long golden hair with a slight curl at the end. Her golden red eyes, but no third eye on her forehead, were mostly hidden by her transformation. The clothes she was wearing were cloth clothes similar to those of Huo Yuhao. Obviously, this Miss Lucky Beast did not have much research on human clothing, so she could only pinch them based on the clothes in Huo Yuhao's memory. The most memorable thing for Huo Yuhao is his and his mother's patched old clothes. I pinched it according to your age, the girl said in a voice no different from before. I was hoping to find a woman who impressed you better to replicate my facial features, but I found out that the only woman you liked was your mother. So I changed according to my own ideas. Even if the soul beast is naive, after reading Huo Yuhao's memory, it will know that this cannot be changed casually. But Huo Yuhao gently avoided the topic and said, your own ideas look good. That's true. Although Rui Beast did not refer to any templates, her own changes were still as natural as jade. So, Huo Yuhao asked, are you going with me? Yeah. I even prepared a full set of acting, the girl said with a confident expression. As she spoke, 2 soul rings slowly rose under her feet. This startled Huo Yuhao. The 2 soul rings she released were both black, representing eternity. Well, you act something normal, he choked up. Even the most extraordinary genius cannot have a black first ring. Late-stage evolution is another matter. If she were to wear 2 black rings to the human world, she would probably be caught for research. The girl blinked at the words, and the 2 rings trembled lightly, turning white. This is not possible, Huo Yuhao said. I heard that the 2 white rings cannot enter Shrek. It's really troublesome. Finally, the soul ring she simulated ended in 1 yellow and 1 purple. By the way, there's one more thing. Huo Yuhao said, what should I call you? This time it was the turn of the three-eyed golden lion to be questioned. My name is San Yen Jin and you can also call me Emperor Rui Beast, she said. Huo Yuhao helped his forehead and said, if you want to go to the human world, you have to have a human name. How do you humans name them? In terms of name, it should probably be divided into two parts. Surname and first name. Huo Yuhao recalled his shallow knowledge. Surnames are usually taken from fathers or mothers, and names can be taken from anything. He changed his mother's surname to Huo for revenge. Parents. I don't seem to have this concept. I heard that I was born under the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. But King Qi has always taken care of me. According to your statement, then my surname is also Qi Hao. Although Huo Yuhao felt helpless about Miss Rui Beast's behavior of taking a single character from her title as her surname, he couldn't think of any other ideas. How should I choose a name? She asked. You say it's easy, but it's actually very difficult for me. I haven't given anyone a name either. Let's think about it together, said Huo Yuhao. He sat in place thinking for a while, but suddenly his mind twitched. He looked into her eyes and said, Autumn. How is it? Autumn. She tilted her head slightly in confusion. Why? The color of your hair and eyes. The beautiful golden hair of the auspicious beast and its jewel-like golden red eyes quietly coincide with the autumn in the starry forest that Huo Yuhao saw in his memory. Okay. Lucky Beast seems to accept this reason well. I also like the autumn here, so I'll call it Red Autumn. There shouldn't be any other questions now. We can start now, asked Qiu'er. There shouldn't be anything left, Huo Yuhao nodded. If there's anything missing, let's think about it on the way. Let's set off now. Chapter 3. Generous Grilled Fish Customers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Shrek City is always very lively. Doing business here is a wise choice. As long as the things you bring out are not too bad, there will always be people who will pay to buy them. Just these days, a newly opened grilled fish restaurant seems to be too lively. People have already lined up in front of this stall. Nevertheless, there are still new arrivals constantly increasing the length of the team. And in front of the booth, a blonde girl repeated in a voice without emotional fluctuations. 5 copper soul coins per roasted fish, our store does not negotiate. Thank you for your patronage. And the black-haired boy sitting in the stall was focused on controlling many grilled fish. Although in the eyes of the customer, this skinny boy may seem a bit overwhelmed, in reality, he accurately controls the heat of each grilled fish. Cutting fish, cleaning, skewering bamboo skewers, setting fire, flipping fish, seasoning, each action seamlessly transitions, but never shaking hands. Soon, a strong aroma emanated from the grilled golden fish. Your grilled fish. The boy picked out a fish from the shelf and handed it to the person in front of him. After the person received it, he immediately lowered his head to take care of the fish from other customers. The process was very skilled and smooth. These two people are Huo Yuhao and Qiu'er. Starry Forest and Shrek Academy have been neighbors for some time now, and Qiu'er naturally knows the approximate route to Shrek City. They just didn't expect that they were rejected by Shrek Academy because they didn't have a recommendation letter from the Lord, and Huo Yuhao's soul power was not enough to reach level 15. Although Qiu'er showed the recruiters the ratio of the golden dragon soul and the 1 yellow and 1 purple soul ring, she was still rejected by Shrek due to the lack of a recommendation letter from the city lord. Huo Yuhao thought to himself, it seems that this world's first college is not something that ordinary geniuses can enter. After a tribute introduction, Huo Yuhao's spiritual eyes underwent a qualitative change, and his soul power directly jumped by 2 levels, reaching level 13, but there was still a certain distance from Shrek's requirements. Helpless, the two had to decide to do business selling grilled fish in the city and save enough travel expenses before heading to another city. After all, when Huo Yuhao escaped from the Duke's mansion, he didn't have much money on him. If he didn't make money, he would starve to death. But failing to enter Shrek, although Huo Yuhao pretended to be okay on the surface, he was still somewhat disappointed in his heart. After all, this is what everyone calls the Holy Land of Soul Masters, the #1 academy in the world. Moreover, the thought of Dai Caiheng and Dai Huabin having the ability to come here to study, but he was rejected, a strong sense of unwillingness rushed up from the bottom of his heart, and even the action of flipping the grilled fish became even more forceful. As the sun sets, it's time to close today's grilled fish stall. Huo Yuhao has started preparing to extinguish the fire and clean up his stall. At this moment, a childish boy's voice came from the stall. "Little brother, girl, how do you sell this grilled fish?" He looked up at the person. The young man in front of him had bold pink-blue short hair and equally eye-catching pink-blue eyes. He wore a clean white coat and a golden-blue butterfly brooch on the collar. Just a glance at his clothes made him realize that the young man was probably not an ordinary person. 5 copper soul coins, no bargaining, said Qiu'er. "Give me 2, the pink-blue boy nodded and happily took out a silver soul coin from the package. "Please wait a moment." In no time, the 2 grilled fish were freshly cooked by Xiaohua's henchmen, and a few drops of meat juice flowed from the edge of the fish's belly, instantly emitting a fragrant aroma. "These are also the last 2 for today." The last customer took a bite from the grilled fish and was stunned. A few seconds later, he suddenly bit down another piece of fish, chewed it twice, and then loudly praised it in a vague voice. "This is definitely the best grilled fish I've ever eaten since I was born. Little brother, can you still open a shop here in the future?" Huo Yuhao shook his head and said, "I'm just here to earn some travel expenses. I've already earned almost enough in the past few days. If I don't leave, I won't be able to catch up with other schools' enrollment." "Other schools," said the other person while chewing on fish and meat. "Can't we just go to school in Shrek? It's great to go to school during the day and set up a stall at night. We can also have your grilled fish. We don't have a recommendation letter from the city lord, so we can't enter the school." The young man waved his hand and said, "Hey, you've made this complicated. It's all business. Shrek enrolls a lot of people every year, and the city lord can recommend so many people one by one. They are all signed in bulk. If anyone needs it, they can spend money to buy it and write their own names on it." As he spoke, he pulled Huo Yuhao's arm and showed him a few people shouting at the distant city gate. "Didn't you pay attention when you came in? That's the second-hand recommendation letter seller, one can stir up 20 gold soul coins." Huo Yuhao followed the direction he said and saw that there were indeed several people holding some envelopes and selling them. In shock, he hesitated and said, "But I don't have 40 gold soul coins either." "Your business is so good. The living expenses in Shrek City are also very high." After hearing these words, the boy with pink and blue hair seemed to ponder for a moment before clapping his hand and saying, "All right. I'll take care of the recommendation letter for you too. As long as you both agree to continue selling grilled fish here and leave me a free VIP spot, that's all." Faced with this cost-effective transaction, Huo Yuhao hesitated for a moment before adding, "Actually, my soul power level did not meet the requirements." He thought the young man in front of him would have no choice but to think for a moment and say, "Actually, this is not something that cannot be done. The 7 predecessors who ascended to fame thousands of years ago, and the sects related to them, actually have Shrek's entrance exam exemption quota. However, for the sake of my sect's reputation, I need to see your abilities." Divine Realm. Amidst the swirling clouds and mist, a blue and golden figure stood still. This person has a waterfall-like water-blue long hair, a majestic figure, and a majestic and steady demeanor. But at this moment, the expression on his face had nothing to do with these adjectives. "What's going on?" His eyebrows were about to knot on his forehead, and his voice was filled with undisguised anger. Not long ago, he just realized that a new star had emerged in Douluo Continent. In order to bring this luck into his pocket, he immediately began arranging for the new son of luck. However, at a certain moment, the position he was observing was suddenly obscured by a strong wave of divine power, which temporarily caused him to lose his observation of the lower realm. These are the last 2 things that the god of emotions does for another self in the rewritten world. All the power of fate is given to oneself, while other forces are used to hinder Tang Shenwang's interference in this world. His power will eventually come to an end, and this obstacle will not last forever, but at least it can help him get through the early stages that are most easily affected. Who did it? Obstructing my plan, there is already a way to die. Tang Shenwang's eyes were torn apart. A soft arm wrapped around the waist of Tang Shenwang and said, "Third brother, what happened to make you so angry?" The soft and bony humanoid sword scabbard quietly arrived behind the Tang God King. Xiao Wu. He immediately withdrew his previously angry expression and replaced it with a calm, gentle, and strategic face. "Don't worry, it's just a small accident. However, your third brother, I'm already prepared with both hands." After saying these words, Tang Shenwang's own heart also calmed down a bit. "Yes, my preparation is seamless. Even if I can't observe it temporarily, there shouldn't be any major problems. After all, I had already separated Xiaoqi's soul and put in my divine consciousness before she entered the lower realm. As long as she meets the auspicious beast, her separated soul can smoothly erode the spiritual sea of the auspicious beast. At that time, the son of Qiu'er, the star Dou's 10,000-year Qiu'er, and the golden dragon spear will all be in the hands of his Tang family. Thinking of such a future, he couldn't help but stroke his hands and smile. Xiao Wu was surprised. Why was third brother so angry just now, but now he's laughing again? "Third brother, why are you laughing?" "Hee hee." Tang San waved his hand, "It's nothing, I remember something happy. I can't say this to Xiao Wu yet. After all, he did the splitting of his daughter's soul behind his back with Xiao Wu." Chapter 4. Dangerous Soul Fragments. You are listening at novelfull.audio. My name is Wang Dong'er. The boy with pink and blue hair sat on the tree stump. "Let's get to know each other. Let me see your abilities." This is the outskirts of Shrek City, and Wang Dong'er specifically selected this place for the three of them to fully unleash their soul skills. "Hello, Wang Dong'er, I'm Huo Yuhao." Huo Yuhao nodded at him. Qiu'er answered briefly. "Okay. Brother Huo, Miss Zhou, you two have played tricks on me." During his speech, Wang Dong'er had already released his martial soul. A pair of blue and golden butterfly wings appeared from behind him, bringing a gust of wind. Two soul rings rose from his feet, surprisingly one yellow and one purple, surpassing the optimal combination of soul rings. He quickly jumped up with his toes on the ground and headed straight for Huo Qiu'er and the two of them. Huo Yuhao was not in a hurry to dodge. He stood still, his blue eyes shining brightly, and the white soul ring beneath his feet flickered inconspicuously. First soul skill, spiritual detection, spiritual sharing. With attribute guidance, his shared range of spiritual detection has been significantly improved, and currently, he can see all the wind and grass within a radius of 80 meters. When Qiu'er connected to his sharing, he was also secretly surprised. After all, this is only a level 13 level. One ring, Huo Xiaoga. In the blink of an eye, Wang Dong'er had already rushed to the two of them. "It's still a white ring, let's see how you behave." The next second, he took advantage of the inertia of flight and swung a punch at Huo Yuhao. This punch has a very fast speed. Although Wang Dong'er considers himself a strong attack-type soul master, his speed is not weaker than many sensitive attack types. At the end of the day, he felt that easily categorizing soul masters into a certain category was too one-sided. However, Wang Dong'er did not expect that his punch would go blank at such a close distance from Huo Yuhao. Huo Yuhao seemed to have anticipated his attack route in advance, calmly taking a step back and looking up, only allowing his fist to barely brush against his bangs. However, his posture also prevented him from making an immediate counterattack. "I still lack experience." Wang Dong'er immediately adjusted his body to prepare for the next attack. The second punch came straight at Huo Yuhao's chest. At this moment, Qiu'er, who had been watching, moved. She also seemed to have known in advance where Wang Dong's attack would fall, and with a movement of her body, she came to Huo Yuhao's side. At the same time, Huo Yuhao tacitly retreated, giving her a place of origin. She opened her 5 fingers and took Wang Dong's punch head-on with one palm. In the confrontation of power, Wang Dong has no advantage over Qiu'er. Wang Dong also quickly realized that he could not shake the palm of Qiu'er. He immediately withdrew his strength, flapped his wings, and prepared to distance himself and launch another attack. However, the next second, a deep dragon cry suddenly sounded, and the golden light on Qiu'er's body was shining brightly. A little golden light flew straight towards Wang Dong, with an extremely astonishing speed. Moreover, this golden light predicts Wang Dong's landing point. When Wang Dong realized that he had been predicted to take action, it was already too late. His first soul ring suddenly lit up, but before the butterfly wings could fully harden, the golden light was about to pierce through him. He quickly raised his hands and said, "I give up." Before the words fell, the light suddenly dissipated. Qiu'er was not far from him, holding a golden dragon spear, and the tip of the spear was only 3 inches away from Wang Dong's eyebrows. "Miss Qiu'er is so strong." Wang Dong took a step back and sighed, "It's the first time I've encountered a situation where I can't compete in strength among my peers." "So what do you think of Huo Yuhao?" Qiu'er withdrew the golden dragon spear and asked indifferently. "Huo Xiaoga and Miss Qiu'er are very compatible," Wang Dong touched his chin. "However, I really didn't see what Huo Xiaoga's first soul skill had been using." Huo Yuhao smiled and said, "Just use it and you'll know." He carefully probed his spiritual strength towards Wang Dong. Wang Dong's spiritual cultivation is not high, so when he was connected to the spiritual detection sharing by Huo Yuhao, he did not even notice it. The next moment, Wang Dong's gaze changed. He turned back to look at Huo Yuhao in shock, opened his mouth, and couldn't utter a word. Everything around us can almost be seen clearly, and the world within our detection range is like the Creator's sandbox. At this moment, he seemed to suddenly enter a new dimension, and his perspective on all things in the world was completely different. It's not an exaggeration to say it's from a divine perspective one ring, one white ring, can achieve this level. And the scope is not small. This is my first soul skill, spirit detection sharing. Huo Yuhao used his spiritual power to make a sound to the 2 of them in the sharing skill. When Qiu'er turned her head to look at Wang Dong, he found that she could even see the movement trajectory of each strand of Qiu'er's golden long hair clearly. No wonder Brother Huo and Miss Qiu'er had such a good cooperation just now. It turns out that I was completely predicted clean. He was immersed in the shock and it took him some time to recover. He said stiffly, "Shrek's refusal to accept you is their loss. Wait for me a moment, I'll go get you the exemption special move certificate." After speaking, Wang Dong quickly left. After turning off the sharing of mental detection, Huo Yuhao wiped off his cold sweat and said to Qiu'er, "You were too scary just now. I thought you were going to kill Wang Dong." Qiu'er gently shook her head. "No," she said, "even if Wang Dong doesn't shout to admit defeat, I will still stop. I have a sense of propriety. However, I want to test her strength in which position." She was indeed testing Wang Dong just now, wanting to see what his true strength was when he was threatened by the golden dragon spear. The result of the probing has been obtained, and Wang Dong is currently only the 2nd ring soul master. "Is there any problem with Wang Dong's strength?" Huo Yuhao asked. "No," she said, "I initially suspected she had tampered with me, but soon realized that she didn't have that ability." "Did I tamper with you? What just happened?" "Huo Yuhao, where do you think Wang Dong's spiritual cultivation level is?" asked Qiu'er. Huo Yuhao thought for a moment and said, "I haven't responded to the shared connection for mental detection, it should be under me." "Yes," said Qiu'er, "but just now, just after she arrived, I suddenly realized that a soul fragment had easily broken through my spiritual defense and was about to pollute my spiritual sea. This sentence surprised Huo Yuhao and his heavenly dream ice silkworm in the sea of spirit. The pollution of the spiritual sea is not a small matter. The sea of spirit, even for those who do not cultivate spiritual power, is also a place to store memories, willpower, and even personality. If the sea of spirit is polluted, it means that personality will undergo changes. With Wang Dong'er's newly demonstrated strength, he really shouldn't have this ability. How is that soul fragment now? Huo Yuhao became nervous. Is your spiritual sea okay? Qiu'er nodded and said, I have temporarily separated it from my spiritual sea, and it has not yet been contaminated by it. Fortunately, at that time, with the sharing of spiritual detection, my mind was very focused, and it was only then that I noticed this dangerous fragment. That's good. We need to figure out what's going on with this matter, it's too dangerous. At this moment, another elderly voice suddenly sounded in Huo Yuhao's spiritual sea. The issue of the soul is really dear to me. Chapter 5. Her Secret. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the sea of Huo Yuhao's spirit, the grey bead that had been silent all along moved. The heavenly dream ice silkworm shouted like a startled bird, Who are you? Are you fighting for territory with brother? A meat bug, also shouting and grabbing territory with the old man. That old voice seemed to disdain Tianmeng ice silkworm, as if the other person had disturbed him in his business, and only casually passed a sentence. Subsequently, no matter how angry Tianmeng was shouting and yelling, he ignored it. Are you? Huo Yuhao looked at the chaos in his spiritual sea, somewhat puzzled. The voice turned to him and said, Kid, don't be afraid. I didn't originally belong to this world, and now I'm just a remnant of divine consciousness. I'm temporarily storing it with you for recovery, and it doesn't mean any harm to you. The little cat's mention of soul fragments made me interested, that's why I woke up. Do you have any idea about this matter? Huo Yuhao's eyes lit up. Heading. Maybe not yet. It just feels a bit familiar. I seem to have forgotten a lot of content, and I need to slowly repair my divine sense to gradually recall it. In the future, if there are any changes in that soul fragment, you can call on me to give it a try. Unfortunately, I can't directly see what the soul fragments in that kitten's mind look like. Huo Yuhao, there seems to be something else in your spiritual sea as well. The grey beads suddenly scattered and covered Huo Yuhao's entire sea of spirit. In this all-grey world, a few inconspicuous golden scratches became apparent. What is this? Tianmeng ice silkworm was clearly puzzled. He doesn't know when this scratch was left. The little bug naturally can't see any trace of this, sighed the old voice. You. Heavenly dream ice silkworm became angry. All right. Huo Yuhao reluctantly came out to make amends. I think we can still coexist peacefully. So can you tell us what this is? When this voice spoke to Huo Yuhao, its tone became much calmer. These few scratches may also be products from other worlds. However, interestingly, the power emanating from them is highly similar to the power of your world, and even your own. My power. Huo Yuhao was surrounded for a moment. What does this mean? Can it be another me? I'm afraid so, that's why it's interesting. Huo Yuhao, who is not afraid of tigers as a newborn calf, carefully controls his spiritual sea, attempting to mobilize his spiritual power to touch those few scratches. However, just at the moment of contact, his spiritual power was violently unleashed, releasing a highly oppressive impact, and even the entire sea of spirit shook violently for a moment. The shaking of the sea of spirit is manifested in reality, as Huo Yuhao suddenly has a headache. His face turned pale and he almost couldn't stand steadily. Thanks to Qiu'er's sharp eyes and quick hands, she helped him on the shoulder. What's wrong? She asked. During the period when Huo Yuhao suddenly fell silent, she patiently waited. Due to attribute referral, she already knows how many guests there are in Huo Yuhao's spiritual sea. No, it's okay, there was a little accident. Huo Yuhao smiled awkwardly. When his consciousness was forced to return to his body from the sea of spirit, the last sentence of the old man still echoed in his mind. It seems that you think it's not time yet. When you're strong enough, try to come into contact with this secret again. Is it really okay? Qiu'er looked at his expression. Wang Dong has returned. It's really okay. Huo Yuhao nodded to Qiu'er, but at the same time, he became even more determined in his heart. With so many opportunities, so many people helping me, I must become stronger. Mother's revenge must be avenged, and the secret he left behind must also be answered. Just as he was making up his mind, Wang Dong'er mysteriously and stealthily returned with a black gold envelope. Look at him sneaking through the forest like a thief. Huo Yuhao watched as Qiu'er quietly walked around behind Wang Dong and expressionlessly patted his shoulder. Ah! Who? Wang Dong'er exclaimed in surprise as if he had been electrocuted. If Huo Yuhao didn't hear me wrong. How could this voice still sound a bit like a girl when it's raised? After Wang Dong realized it, he snorted angrily and said, "Wow, you too. I'll get you a recommendation letter for you, you guys join forces to scare me." Huo Yuhao innocently raised his hand and said, "I didn't do anything." Stop it. Wang Dong angrily stuffed the envelope into his arms and handed another letter to Qiu'er. Huo Xiaoge is actually standing there watching, not reminding me. He's a reliable accomplice. Aren't you sneaking around to attack us first? Huo Yuhao laughed and immediately counterattacked. Moving back and forth, this forest is filled with joyful air. After all this turmoil, several hours had passed, and the sky was already completely dark. The lights of Shrek City were competing with the stars in the sky. Wang Dong suggested that he needs to go back to the post station for accommodation first. Before leaving, he repeatedly reminded Huo Yuhao. This exemption letter, just hand it to the teacher when you start school tomorrow and let them see the content. You can't read the content inside, did you hear it? Why? Huo Yuhao was very dissatisfied with the tone of his last sentence. You. Wang Dong suddenly patted Huo Yuhao's shoulder. This is my secret. Secret, do you understand? People always have some secrets, and I've helped you with this. Okay. Huo Yuhao accepted this reason well. He just had a tantrum with Wang Dong's commanding tone just now. Is my letter too? Asked Qiu'er. Miss Qiu'er doesn't need it, I bought it with 17 gold soul coins on the street. Wang Dong chuckled and said, let's go. Huo Xiaoge, Miss Qiu'er, see you at school tomorrow on the reporting day. Remember my grilled fish VIP. After speaking, he disappeared into the bustling crowd under the night. Until Wang Dong walked away, Qiu'er spoke again, Yuhao, there should be something certain now. What? That Wang Dong is a woman, Qiu'er said coldly and astonishingly. Really? How do you know? Huo Yuhao was startled by this sentence and felt his tongue knot for a moment. Wait a minute. It seems like there is indeed something special about it. Huo Yuhao suddenly recalled the moment when Wang Dong was frightened by Qiu'er. Wang Dong's screams were indeed exposed, but his simple mind did not think much at the time. Why did she dress up as a man? That's all I have to ask her. But if she goes to school dressed in men's clothing, won't she be assigned to the boys' dormitory? It's too unsafe. Who knows? Qiu'er shook her head, maybe it's a secret, as she said. Everyone has a secret. After saying these words, she looked toward Shrek Academy and was momentarily lost in thought. At this angle, you can still see the top of the tallest 7 monster statues. Among them, the statues of Tang San and Xiao Wu were very close, and their stone-carved hair was illuminated by the surrounding lights, making Qiu'er's heart cold as ice. At the same time, Huo Yuhao was also watching a group of people at the nearby post station, dressed in the uniforms of the White Tiger Duke's mansion, escorting a blonde boy into the post station with a grand presence. Dai Huabin will indeed come to Shrek. Huo Yuhao can tell his style at a glance. Since you can also enroll yourself, never lose to him. Chapter 6. Being roommates with me is your blessing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The next day, Shrek College. Huo Yuhao and Qiu'er arrived early in the morning in order to catch up with the last day of new students before the start of school. The teacher in charge of the last batch of admissions at the entrance was so sleepy early in the morning that his eyes couldn't even open. He saw a man and a woman in front of him who seemed to have come recently, and even didn't bother to greet him. He waved his hand and wanted to drive Huo Yuhao away. Huo Yuhao took out the black and gilded envelope from his arms and placed it in front of the teacher who had not woken up. No one else, I just want to help the other person clear up, he's still acting weird. The teacher rubbed his eyes in disbelief, opened the envelope in surprise, and carefully examined it before slowly putting it into the desk drawer. When he looked up at Huo Yuhao again, his eyes had changed. He murmured softly, "The sun is shining in the west." These people not only sent their young master this year, but also offered unused special skill slots. We used to invite their disciples down the mountain without doing anything before. What's going on? May I ask what you just said? I didn't hear you clearly, sorry. Huo Yuhao's polite inquiry interrupted the other person's wild thoughts. I mean, you can go to the freshman reporting office to get your school uniform now. The teacher quickly raised his voice, but the impatience in his tone was gone. The teacher over there will arrange accommodation and other daily matters for you. The little girl behind you, please also show me the recommendation letter. Qiu'er also handed out her recommendation letter. The teacher glanced and fortunately, there were no more words that startled his chin. It was just an ordinary recommendation letter signed by an unknown small city lord in the heavenly Soul Empire. But on second thought, what does Haotian sect mean by doing so? Even though they have 1,000-year heritage, they still have to come to Shrek for a pilgrimage now. Thinking about it this way, he felt much more comfortable. Alright, both of you go in and collect your clothes and map. Huo Yuhao nodded and walked into the college gate with Qiu'er. They had just entered the door when they saw a group of students surrounded by a sign at the door, seemingly discussing a certain announcement. Isn't it, that old witch? Are you sure you're not mistaken? When third grade reports her, come and take care of first grade students. Is this reporting her or rewarding her? Isn't it easier to dismiss first grade students casually? Help, I don't want to die in her physical education class. Fortunately, she said she couldn't be rated as a senior teacher. If she didn't have some background, could she still continue to be a teacher? Qiu'er frowned and said, what are they talking about? It sounds like a teacher. Huo Yuhao quietly opened his mind detection and scanned the most prominent notice on the bulletin board. His name is Zhou. Because he was reported by a student, he was sent to teach first grade. Look at the school introduction just posted, it's our grade. He paused for a moment and then said, oh, by the way, do you know the concept of a teacher? Of course, said Qiu'er, we also have teachers in our minds, and even Emperor Tian is my teacher. Huo Yuhao immediately raised his index finger and placed it in front of his lips to signal her not to say anything. Shh. Don't let anyone know you know him. Even if he had no education, he had heard of the title of the top 10 ferocious beasts. In the human world, food can be eaten recklessly, but words cannot be spoken recklessly. He has endured humiliation in the duchy for many years and has always been cautious in his speech. Knowing Emperor Tian like this may be seen as an exaggerated joke in other schools, but in Shrek, you may even encounter someone with a heart to secretly investigate your ancestors for 3 generations. When auspicious beasts first entered the human world, most of their understanding of humans was still a blank sheet of paper. I hope I won't be assigned to this teacher's class, Huo Yuhao sighed softly. Of course, he is not afraid of being assigned to anyone's class. No matter what teacher he encounters, he will strive to do his best, he just doesn't want to be fired. After all, being fired means he cannot continue to fulfill his promise to serve the grilled fish VIP, which means he owes Wang Dong a favor. He doesn't want to owe this favor. After Huo Yuhao told Qiu'er how to use the map and access card, the two briefly separated and went to their respective dormitory buildings. This is the first time Huo Yuhao and his wife have separated since leaving the Starry Forest. Suddenly transitioning from 2 to 1, Huo Yuhao felt a bit uneasy. He checked the access card and was assigned to dormitory 328. He walked to his dormitory door with a nervous heart, hesitated for a while, and finally knocked on the door. Enter. Wait, this familiar voice. Huo Yuhao opened the door and sure enough, the guy sitting on the bed, bored with reading, was wearing a head of pink and blue hair. What a coincidence. Seeing that the person coming was Huo Yuhao, Wang Dong was also stunned and said, "Oh, Huo Xiaoge." At this moment, Huo Yuhao's brain is running rapidly, and he can even match the background music of his mother's birth. He already knows that Wang Dong is a girl. What will we do in the future? Is there a vertical baffle between two people? Pull a curtain. In short, it's enough not to interfere with each other. Before he could speak, Wang Dong hesitated and spoke first. Since it happens to be such a dormitory, I have some personal habits that I need you to listen to. First. Although there are still rules, Wang Dong has converged much more than another world line. After all, she had already fought with Huo Qiu'er and experienced Huo Yuhao's shared spiritual detection. She knew she couldn't get any advantage from Huo Xiaoge. If Huo Xiaoge is an unreasonable person, she can only find a way to change her dormitory. However, in terms of yesterday's interaction, there shouldn't be any problem, right? Sure enough, Huo Yuhao did not have any objections to her demands, but instead nodded to show complete understanding. Subsequently, Huo Yuhao also spoke up. I actually have some personal habits that you need to know. You said, Wang Dong pretended to wave his hand generously. I actually care a lot about personal privacy. Can we put another curtain in between our beds? What? Wang Dong was surprised that she had not even raised her request to this level. Oh, it's just that I don't sleep well and don't want others to see me, Huo Yuhao forced out an embarrassed smile. This is the reason that Huo Yuhao came up with nonsense. When Wang Dong was speaking just now, his mind was full of how to politely and respectfully propose to put on a curtain without making Wang Dong feel like his secret was exposed. For a moment, as a young man who couldn't lie, he felt like the sea of spirit was almost burning. Finally, Tianmeng Ice Silkworm told him this reason. Although it's not smart enough, just believe it. Wang Dong didn't react for a while. But soon, she felt a wave of joy in her heart. That's the best. I didn't expect Huo Yuhao to take the initiative to propose such a suggestion. Okay, it doesn't matter if I hear one of your suggestions. That's okay then. Huo Yuhao has given such a step, it's unreasonable for Wang Dong to not follow the step again. Wang Dong, being my roommate is lucky for you. He thought. If we change to another boys' dormitory, we will have to create some dormitory conflicts. After all, if he changes to a roommate he doesn't know, Wang Dong will inevitably have to stand up in order to make the other person listen to his own opinions. If you encounter a prick like Huo Yuhao who doesn't like to speak high and mighty, you will definitely start fighting. Fortunately, this matter has been successfully resolved. Huo Yuhao placed his limited luggage on the hard bed, while Wang Dong watched him take out his belongings one by one. In the end, he didn't see him take out the mattress. Wait a minute, didn't you buy a mattress and blanket? Wang Dong felt his eyelids twitch. The school logistics department can buy it, it's not much money. I saw the price tag in the cafeteria before I came to the dormitory, Huo Yuhao said seriously, I plan to save money to eat. Even so, you're too. Shrek College naturally does not have subsidies for impoverished students. Their logic is also very simple. You already have a recommendation letter from the city lord, do you still need college subsidies? Huo Yuhao interrupted her and said, "It's okay. Alright, I'll go out for a while. I haven't seen Qiu'er for a while, I need to go see how she's adapting." Wang Dong let out a teasing "oh," and then waved his hand as if rushing to leave, urging Huo Yuhao to quickly go out. "I understand, hurry up, go find your Miss Qiu'er. I still think you're in trouble here." Huo Yuhao didn't say much and smiled at Wang Dong before running downstairs. The attribute connection seemed to have brought him and Qiu'er a sense of connection, as he felt that she was now located in the square downstairs. Sure enough, this induction is not wrong. When Huo Yuhao walked to the square, Qiu'er was mesmerized by the sculpture of Shrek 7 monsters on the square. "Qiu'er," he shouted. "I know you're behind the scenes," said Qiu'er. "Oh." Huo Yuhao walked up to her side, "Do you like these statues? It looks like these are the predecessors who became gods thousands of years ago." "I don't like it." Huo Yuhao turned his head to look at her. He could tell that Qiu'er's tone was unusually indifferent when he said this sentence. "Why?" he asked. "I'm sorry, I thought these divine predecessors were respected by everyone. Soul beasts do not worship gods." Qiu'er also turned to look at Huo Yuhao, who could see fiery anger from her golden red eyes. After a moment, Qiu'er seemed to feel that her tone was too strong to scare Huo Yuhao, so she put away her anger and said coldly, "Why respect and love the gods when a race is hated by the gods? Please follow up and recommend tickets, please. This is really important to me." Chapter 7. Zhou Yi's class has no difficulties. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. A race hated by gods. Huo Yuhao did not fully understand this sentence. 10,000 years ago, the first generation of Shrek's 7 monsters ascended to become gods, and since then, people have admired them for generations. At least in the Douluo 3 kingdoms, all they can hear is their kind words. He has never heard the saying that God hates anyone. When the sea god Tang San became a god, he was around 20 years old, I remember correctly, said Qiu'er. 20 years later, he stepped into that threshold and obtained the eternal life that all life dreams of. Xiaowu, a 100,000-year-old rabbit with soft bones, has been restored to adulthood and successfully ascended to the divine realm. And before they were born, Emperor Tian had already endured 800 tribulations in the 800,000-year-long tribulation. That tribulation lasted for 90.9 and 80.1 days, and when the last tribulation was extinguished, Emperor Tian was already weak. But he still had one breath left. That thunder has no intention of causing Emperor Tian to undergo hardships and transform. It only wants Emperor Tian to die there, and his cultivation should not go any further. Heaven's attitude towards humans who are about to become gods is not this. Although God hates us, he allows us to have the power and wisdom to spend millions of years realizing our own situation, but it is impossible to change it. And the rabbit seemed to have completely forgotten that she used to be a soul beast. If she were to help the soul beasts, even if it were to say a word for her own tribe, perhaps. The soul beasts were not in this situation now. At this point, Qiu'er spoke with a somewhat melancholic tone. The starry forest has shrunk in size compared to when I was born. Huo Yuhao listened to Qiu'er's description, but suddenly thought of the Duchess. She hated her mother and son, but did not quietly execute them while Dai Hao was not around. Instead, she simply locked them in a firewood shed and tortured them repeatedly. She allowed him to awaken his martial soul and cultivate his soul power, but also made him watch his mother being injured and killed. Isn't it a kind of torture? Yes, the Duchess is not afraid of him and his mother at all. What does she have to fear? Can Huo Yuhao, with a child who has not awakened the white tiger martial soul, shake her back against the Star Luo Empire? She just looks down on them and wants to torture them. Thinking about this, Huo Yuhao's fists have already tightened. I understand what you're saying, he said. I understand why you don't like these statues. But Qiu'er just turned her head and stopped looking at these statues. No, just pretend I haven't said anything. It's my problem for you to listen to these. After saying these words, she turned around as if to leave. Huo Yuhao grabbed her sleeve and said, "There's nothing bad about it. You already understood my hatred on the day of the introduction, and now I know your hatred too. Isn't that just right?" Qiu'er was slightly stunned. "Before that, I always thought you were the monitor who came to supervise my regular return to the Star Dou Forest, but after you said these things, I felt like we were already friends. Mom said that friends only talk to each other about their worries." Huo Yuhao spoke very sincerely, with a child of this age's pure longing for friends. He came from a repressed environment like the Duke's mansion and was forced to close his heart from the days he remembered. Qiu'er was the first person besides Tianmeng to accompany him for a long time after he left the Duke's mansion. Although the other party may have some interest in something about him, he still hopes to become friends with them. A few students are passing by beside them at this moment. Those students, upon seeing the statue, would also exclaim, "Lord Sea God is truly magnificent." Qiu'er's tense face finally loosened. She said, "Friends. We can be friends. That's great." Huo Yuhao smiled and said, "Calling your name directly is too complicated. Can I call you Qiu'er?" When he said this title, the few unidentified marks in his spiritual sea lit up imperceptibly. "As you please." Chiaki turned her back to him. "After all, this is the name you came up with." "Okay. Autumn." Subsequently, the two exchanged some information about course arrangements. Huo Yuhao learned that he was not assigned to Zhou Yi's class. It is said that it was because the class was fully allocated, so he went to the fourth class, which had little discussion. Unfortunately, Qiu'er was assigned to Zhou Yi's class. Before leaving, I saw Wang Dong's schedule and she was also in teacher Zhou's class. Huo Yuhao comforted her by patting her shoulder. "If there's anything, you can talk to her first. Although she looks a bit stunned, she should still be trustworthy." "Okay," Qiu'er nodded, clearly agreeing with Huo Yuhao's description of Wang Dong. Huo Yuhao didn't intentionally check Wang Dong's schedule, it was his amazing vision brought by his spiritual eyes and martial soul. After talking about this, the two people went to the canteen for lunch together. In the afternoon, they went to the school gate to continue the fish baking business. They left Wang Dong 2 big fish with sufficient sauce, and returned to the dormitory for a night of practice after closing the stall. When he returned to the dormitory, he found that there was already a mattress on his bed. The next day, just as Huo Yuhao sat in the classroom and spread out his textbooks, he heard a wail from the classroom opposite him, followed by the sound of whooping footsteps echoing through the hallway. The teacher on their podium hasn't even started teaching yet. She awkwardly helped her glasses and said, "Let's get used to it, that's the teaching style of teacher Zhou Yi from the neighboring class. Get your attention back and let's start the class." Nevertheless, everyone couldn't help but look out of the window curiously. Huo Yuhao, however, had a way to satisfy his curiosity without having to probe his head. He simply hid his soul ring under the table and opened his mind detection. The advantage of a white ring is that it is not eye-catching at all. There is not much difference between whether it is lit or not. In the picture sent to him by mental detection, he saw that only Wang Dong and Qiu'er were left in the class, while the others had already arrived at the playground. No matter how far away he is, he won't be able to detect it for now, but just looking at the blurry image, it seems like everyone is running. At this moment, he heard Wang Dong's voice. "Didn't you just say that we have blood?" Then, a stern female voice came. "Did I say you don't need to run if you have blood? Go. Run 100 laps, the end time is the same as everyone else. So why did you leave us behind?" Qiu'er's tone was also very unfriendly, and she didn't even know how to use human honorifics. "It's just to make us think we don't need to run, be happy, and then dampen this happiness." Zhou Yi sneered and said, "I have already started timing. I can't finish running, and I will still be fired." As Qiu'er was about to erupt, it was Wang Dong's turn to pull her and turned to run towards the playground. "What are you pulling me for?" Qiu'er was about to shake her off. What is the temperament of the auspicious beast? She can't stand this kind of unclear and inexplicable injustice. But in the end, it seemed like the two of them had gone for a run. Hearing this, Huo Yuhao felt a headache. What those students said about Zhou is really not a lie. But if this class is all for running, will that class still be available? Seeing that the teacher in his classroom had already started drawing a tree diagram of his cultivation system on the blackboard, Huo Yuhao hurriedly wrote and began copying 3 notes. When the class bell rang, Huo Yuhao took a deep breath and wiped the sweat off his forehead. Copying 3 notes is still too exhausting. He packed his rudimentary stationery, a small notebook and a pen, and hurriedly left his seat to enter the hallway. He saw a group of people coming back from across the door. However, it seems that there have been fewer people. Did you really get fired? Does this teacher named Zhou really have this right? After a while, he saw familiar blonde hair and pink-blue fur among the returning crowd, which relieved him a little. Wang Dong seemed exhausted enough, while Qiu'er remained expressionless and breathless, with only a drop or 2 of sweat hanging from her temples. Although she has transformed into an adult, the physical fitness of the soul beast is still there. Over here. Huo Yuhao waved to the 2 of them. Qiu'er nodded slightly and walked over with Wang Dong on his arm. What's the situation? Huo Yuhao looked at Wang Dong hanging on Qiu'er's shoulder, feeling a rare sense of, fortunately, I didn't go to Zhou Yi's class. I don't think this teacher should be called a teacher at all, Qiu'er casually concluded. Wang Dong added, surprisingly, if we don't talk about anything in a class and just run 100 laps, those who can't finish will be expelled. And if we say that the auxiliary system won't be let go on the battlefield, so we can run together, then we can't just run 100 laps for those who haven't exercised, right? Should we proceed step by step? Obviously, when 2 hot-tempered people come together, it will make the resentment increase by 1 to 2. The other classes were teaching, but we didn't learn anything. It's not that we didn't have physical fitness classes. Shouldn't she have to keep doing this, right? Wang Dong began to vent like lightning. Huo Yuhao handed the notes to 2 people and said, I saw some situation with my mind detection, so I also copied the notes for you. Is it really fake? Wang Dong finally looked up. Really, Huo Yuhao said, so there's no need to be afraid of not being able to learn anything. If she doesn't have to listen to her classes in the future, she'll just play with our class for you. Do you have time? Asked Qiu'er. She guessed that Huo Yuhao must have used his mental energy, but copying 3 notes was still too difficult. It's a bit of a burden, but you work harder in Teacher Zhou's class, so I'm okay. Stop. Wang Dong seemed to have taken a break. She raised her hand and said, don't force yourself, Yuhao. If you want to quickly copy notes, there's something that might come in handy. What thing? Huo Yuhao became interested. When there are no classes in the afternoon, come with me to the shop next to the Soul Guidance Department teaching building, and I will introduce you. Please follow up and recommend tickets. This is really important to me. Thank you. Chapter 8. The Fire of Light and the Ice of Extreme Cold. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Here, I found what I want to buy. Yuhao. What are you looking at? Wang Dong pulled out a stack of seemingly paper items from the bottom of a row of shelves and said, Boss, how do we sell this? A stack of 2 silver soul coins. Wang Dong went to the cashier to pay, and when he turned around, he saw Huo Yuhao still lying in front of the container, staring blankly at a small pistol that was flickering with a faint light. Qiu'er looked at the dazzling array of products in the store, unsure of where to put them, and in the end, she was lost in thought with Huo Yuhao. Wang Dong, what is this? Huo Yuhao asked. Oh, a remote soul guide. Speaking of which, Wang Dong's tone seemed somewhat disdainful. You can buy it and try its power. Huo Yuhao glanced at the price tag. 5 gold soul coins. Calculate, calculate. As he spoke, Huo Yuhao's gaze remained firmly fixed on it, unable to move away. Is that all you're interested in? Wang Dong'er said stiffly for no reason. Next to it is the Soul Guidance series. Let's go in and visit. The guys inside are much more high-end than this. However, Qiu'er keenly caught the change in her tone and said, don't you like soul guides? Probably. Wang Dong'er did not deny it. Why? Huo Yuhao was a bit curious. We also talked about some soul guides in class. From my perspective, they seem to be very convenient things. Allowing auxiliary soul masters to fight and so on. It sounds like a weapon that can subvert combat. If you want to ask why. I probably feel that soul masters who rely on external combat cannot be considered truly strong. Wang Dong'er spoke like this, but there was an imperceptible hesitation in his tone. But Huo Yuhao continued to ask, but Wang Dong'er, why don't you use weapons? And even if you say you're a real strong person or something, losing in battle means losing. If you're killed in a battle about life and death by the opponent using a powerful soul weapon, it's useless even if the opponent isn't a real strong person, right? I think so too, said Qiu'er. She has experienced much more life and death struggles than the two people in front of her. I looked at Yuhao's notes and annotations on the way here, and it is true that soul guides and other similar devices may become a means of changing battles. Wang Dong'er listened to Huo Yuhao and Qiu'er's defense for the soul guide and fell into a slight confusion. Yeah. She also felt that they were right. But why is it that I don't like soul guides so much? Did the soul guide cause any trouble to oneself? Why is it that I have been so disgusted since I first knew about the existence of soul guides? Why? Suddenly, she felt a severe stabbing pain coming from behind her head, as if a torn wound was starting to bite. In Huo Yuhao's eyes, Wang Dong'er suddenly covered the back of his head, his face turned blue, and then he squatted on the ground trembling all over and remained silent. Wang Dong'er. What's wrong with you? He called out to Qiu'er for a while, and it was only then that Wang Dong'er had a reaction. She weakly waved her hand and said, it's nothing, it's just that my head suddenly hurts. Maybe I was forced to run circles and train too much by Zhou today, that old witch. Do you want to go back and rest first? Asked Qiu'er. No need, it seems to be ready now. Wang Dong'er handed the stack of paper he just bought to Huo Yuhao. Here, a simplest soul guide. Clamp it between two pieces of paper and use soul power to print what you wrote on the first piece of paper onto the next. Huo Yuhao took it over and said, this really makes it a lot easier for me to take notes. 2 silver soul coins, right? I'll pay you. Although Wang Dong'er kept saying that he was fine, Huo Yuhao still gave up his plan to visit the Soul Guidance Department today and took Wang Dong'er and Qiu'er to the shore of Haishan Lake to relax. Although this Haishan Lake is an artificial lake, it still boasts beautiful scenery. The blue lake water reflects the glass-like blue sky, and many buildings can be faintly seen in the fog at the center of the lake, which is the so-called Shrek inner courtyard. The vitality here is also abundant. Qiu'er took a deep breath and sighed comfortably. I just hope you guys can relax and unwind, Huo Yuhao smiled. I've made up my mind, and I'll also practice with you in the future. Coincidentally, my physical fitness isn't very good yet. Let's have a hard time together. Oh my, don't force yourself, Wang Dong'er said jokingly. You're so big, running 100 laps is really deadly. I'm serious. Huo Yuhao said in a rare tone, it's because my physical fitness is not as good as yours that I need to practice. What else did Wang Dong'er want to say? Suddenly, Huo Yuhao pointed to the center of the lake and said, wait, do you see anything there? Wang Dong'er looked into the lake, but did not find any clues. And Qiu'er frowned and said, I feel danger. This is her innate skill of the golden dragon soul, the golden dragon sense. The next second, all three of them saw a fiery red figure. And, that figure is charging towards them at an extremely fast speed. Is it a senior in the inner courtyard? Wang Dong tiptoed up, wanting to see further. But she soon realized that it was unnecessary to do so. Not long after, that figure was about to rush towards them. In an instant, a massive heat wave enveloped the three of them, as if even the air was about to burn out. Wang Dong was the first to activate the martial soul under high pressure. She suddenly opened her butterfly wings, grabbed Huo Yuhao's collar with one hand, and blocked Qiu'er's waist with the other, ready to take the two of them away. However, before she could fly far, waves of increasingly terrifying high temperatures followed one after another. She had to stop flying, but the high temperature continued to burn her martial soul. The butterfly wings instantly disintegrated, and she immediately fell into a coma. Due to losing control of its owner, the soul power of the light goddess butterfly is still subconsciously released outward, but it is crushed by the flames before it has formed. If this continues, it can cause mild trauma, severe damage to cultivation, damage to martial soul, or even death. And the source of the flames seemed to have no intention of letting them go, carrying the blazing evil fire and striking at Huo Yuhao with a palm. In the Sea of Spirit, Tianmeng Ice Silkworm was awakened and felt that Huo Yuhao was being threatened with his life. It seems that brother needs to use the primordial attachment. Tianmeng Ice Silkworm saw that the flame of that palm was actually separated in front of Huo Yuhao. The terrifying dark flames were like a trapped red giant beast, writhing wildly and burning, but unable to approach Huo Yuhao at all. What separates the flames is Qiu'er's golden dragon spear. At this moment, the tip of her gun was also emitting flames. However, it was not a dark, malevolent flame released by the other party, but it is a golden flame that seems to purify all impurities, bright and pure. Ultimate fire. Any low-level flame that sees the ultimate fire must take a detour. However, although her ultimate fire can resist evil fire, using her current disguised cultivation to exert it cannot temporarily extinguish the evil fire. And the other party clearly noticed the problem, and 6 highly oppressive soul rings immediately flew out of their bodies. Soul Emperor. Taking this opportunity, Huo Yuhao first placed Wang Dong in a safe position to separate evil fires. Later, he approached Qiu'er and said, Tianmeng told me that to solve the evil fire on this person, we still need to rely on the ice attribute. Chapter 9. 3 Soul-Raising Pills and the Second Attribute Introduction. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Under the healing of the healing soul master, Wang Dong opened his eyes first. Huo Yuhao saw that Wang Dong, who was really injured, had woken up, so he didn't pretend to be dead. He and Qiu'er got up from the ground and looked at the teachers in white robes in front of him. The teacher saw that Huo Yuhao and the others had already woken up, and said calmly, "You are all fine now. Regarding what you just saw, please forget it, otherwise you will be expelled from the college. Here are these 3 pills for you, as compensation. I believe you are all smart people." After speaking, the person threw out 3 green pills and then turned around and flew towards the sea god lake, without giving them any time to inquire. Huo Yuhao reached out and took his own one. He looked down, the green pill in his palm was icy cold, and a faint breath of life seemed to linger around. Wang Dong, who was standing beside him, exclaimed first, "Soul ascending pill. I didn't expect them to offer such compensation. Now they have financial freedom in school." After she finished speaking, neither Huo Yuhao nor Qiu'er responded. Wang Dong looked up at the two of them in a completely different state, only to see that Huo Yuhao's face was not good looking, and Qiu'er's face was even more pale. "Did you really not even apologize?" Rarely did anger rise in Huo Yuhao's voice. Just listening to those middle-aged people's conversations, Huo Yuhao was already uncomfortable. However, when he realized that the other party really didn't even apologize and only wanted to seal their mouths with a pill, his anger couldn't stop. This is such an arrogant place. Huo Yuhao has heard from his mother that the better schools in the world are, the better they are for their students. However, he had already overturned this impression in just 2 days at Shrek. Mom, this place may not be as good as you think. The little peach in their mouth, according to their words, often experiences such crazy things. I'm afraid there are many internal and external students who have been attacked by her. At this moment, the voice of Tianmeng Ice Silkworm rang in Huo Yuhao's mind. Alright, Yuhao, don't be angry either. Don't worry, your joint attack with the little girl just now really plunged into someone else's spiritual sea. Although she can't die because of her poor cultivation, it can also make her lie down for 10.5 days, which will have an impact on her future cultivation. At this point, Huo Yuhao felt a slight outburst of malice. Tianmeng Ice Silkworm shook her head and said, when you reach level 20, I will help you shape your martial soul, ensuring that you are even stronger than you are now. Okay, brother Tianmeng, I will definitely work hard to cultivate. At this moment, Wang Dong'er was still a bit confused. Miss Qiu'er, why is Yuhao so angry? What happened just now? Just now you almost suffered damage to your martial soul. Do you still think this pill can compensate you? Qiu'er looked at Wang Dong'er, who was at a loss, and as she wished, she saw the other person's instantly ugly face. This soul-boosting pill can elevate a level 30 soul master to level 31, but if there is a problem with the martial soul, it will be useless to eat anything. Moreover, Qiu'er actually concealed from her the fact that she had teamed up with Huo Yuhao to repel the other party. If Huo Yuhao doesn't have the ice attribute on her body, her red autumn is still enough to protect herself. At most, if she leaves with Huo Yuhao, Wang Dong'er may have no time to care and die here. Then, Qiu'er threw her soul-boosting pill into Wang Dong'er's arms. This thing is of no use to me. You can take it and eat it. You are seriously injured and should receive more compensation. This statement is true, Qiu'er's current cultivation is disguised. Before the 7 rings, if she wanted to enhance her soul power, she only needed to open the seal on her golden dragon martial soul. Even soul rings do not require hunting soul beasts to obtain them. But Wang Dong'er clearly understood it as another meaning. She immediately stuffed both into Huo Yuhao's arms and said, no, since that's the case, I won't take them either. Huo Xiaoge, take them all and improve your cultivation as soon as possible. When the new students are assessed, you'll scare these blind teachers to death. However, don't eat too fast, she reminded, this pill can increase soul power equivalent to levels 30 to 31, but if taken too quickly continuously, it may shake the foundation. Thank you. Qiu'er, Wang Dong'er, I'll treat you to dinner tonight. Huo Yuhao nodded and silently accepted it. He really needs to improve his soul power. Tianmeng brother draws a big cake of level 20 takeoff in his mind every day, and he inevitably feels a bit anxious. Wang Dong'er heard his address to Qiu'er and let out a thoughtful, oh. With a, I understand, expression on his face, he said, no, let Huo and Miss Qiu'er go eat together. As for me, I have to spend some of the money I brought with me, otherwise it will be heavy. After speaking, Wang Dong'er wiped oil on the soles of his feet and slipped away. Children at this age do enjoy teasing their peers. However, Huo Yuhao was relatively simple and did not hear any implied meaning from Wang Dong'er. Are you recovering well? Qiu'er asked him. Now it's over, Huo Yuhao nodded. Shall we also go back to the dormitory to rest for a while? No need. Qiu'er pulled him towards the nearby forest, come with me. She came up with a way for Huo Yuhao to quickly absorb 3 soul-boosting pills without affecting his foundation. After all, the heavenly and earthly treasures that their soul beasts eat are much more potent than the crude pills made by humans. Huo Yuhao followed her all the way into the forest, and couldn't help but recall the situation in the starry forest a while ago. Qiu'er, what are you doing? He asked. The second attribute citation, Qiu'er answered briefly. Can this be done again? Huo Yuhao was shocked. You should eat this thing called soul ascending pill first. Qiu'er turned around and pressed down on his shoulder, then a golden light shone on her forehead, and several golden rays outlined the shape of the third vertical eye. The attribute attraction of the auspicious beast is not unique, but my predecessors who live in legends rarely use it more than once. She said this without any ripples. I'm not sure about the second situation, maybe you'll be uncomfortable. But what I can guarantee is that this will allow you to fully absorb the medicinal effects of these 3 soul-boosting pills. Since Qiu'er had already said so, Huo Yuhao did not hesitate too much and was willing to trust his friends. He opened his mouth and delivered the soul-ascending pill one by one into his mouth. As for the possibility of discomfort, he is not afraid of it, but even more afraid of being eliminated in the freshman assessment. After being delivered into the mouth, the taste of this soul-ascending pill actually feels a bit like jelly. He has only eaten jelly once since he was so old. The next moment, Qiu'er pressed her forehead up. The fresh soul power contained in the 3 soul-boosting pills erupted at Huo Yuhao's dantian, and he felt that his newly cleared meridians were immediately rinsed again, his whole body filled with a strong sense of coolness. For a moment, he felt his hands and feet tingling from the impact. And in his spiritual sea, a golden green eye outline appeared, which was continuously drawing the power released by the soul-lifting pill from the spiritual sea, allowing this power to circulate throughout his body along this suction. And just on Huo Yuhao's forehead, where he came into contact with Qiu'er's third eye, a pattern of the same color was also appearing. During the first attribute introduction, due to Huo Yuhao's weakness, the Eye of Fate was not formed. But this time, his conditions have improved a lot, and with the assistance of 3 soul-boosting pills, the Eye of Fate has finally taken shape. Huo Yuhao had never felt his soul power run so fast before, and the previously unstable soul power quickly integrated into the normal operation route. At the same time, the Sea of Spirit, which has been washed for the second time by attributes, has also been further expanded. The heavenly dream ice silkworm naturally took advantage of the situation, releasing more sealing power and strengthening all 4 soul skills that it had bestowed upon Huo Yuhao. Huo Yuhao only felt that his soul power level was breaking through and rising. Levels 16, 17, 18, and 19. In the end, the numbers stopped at the peak of level 19. Qiu'er slightly underestimated the impact of the 3 soul-boosting pills, so she and Tianmeng Ice Silkworm worked together to transfer some of their power to the Eyes of Fate, slowly releasing it in the future, gradually infiltrating Huo Yuhao's meridians. If he didn't do this, Huo Yuhao should have reached level 20 by now, but correspondingly, his cultivation potential would have been shaken. And in the Sea of Spirit, the gray bead moved slightly. A good place, I'll also go in and rest. Then, the gray bead also escaped into the Eyes of Fate. At this moment, the Eye of Fate is like a blue sun, illuminating Huo Yuhao's entire spiritual sea, allowing the surging spiritual power to permeate with bursts of vibrant vitality. And Huo Yuhao has already entered meditation at the extreme speed of operation. Qiu'er slowly left his forehead and helped him sit cross-legged on the ground, while she stood by to protect him. This attribute introduction has also improved Qiu'er's own abilities to a certain extent. After all, a portion of the power of the 3 soul-boosting pills also dissipated into her spiritual sea through connection. Although her cultivation does not require improvement with pills, the improvement of her spiritual power is what she needs. New books on the road, please follow up, collect and recommend tickets. This is really important to me. Thank you. The plot of the new student assessment is about to enter, and Xiao Huo will be completely angered by Shrek_. Chapter 10. Freshman Assessment. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. When Qiu'er was protecting Huo Yuhao, Wang Dong'er went alone to have dinner and returned to the dormitory, beginning to consider his future plans. 3 months later, it was the freshman assessment. She had inquired about some news with her senior classmates in advance during dinner. The freshman assessment was conducted in groups of 3, and only one strong attack-type soul warrior was allowed to exist in the team. Does that mean she definitely can't be with Miss Qiu'er? This makes Wang Dong very distressed. In her eyes, she can't be in the same group as Qiu'er equals one day she will have to face her equals. It's difficult to win the assessment championship. Except for Huo Yuhao and Qiu'er, she is still confident in defeating most of her peers. Even if Huo Yuhao is on the opposite side, if she can join forces with Qiu'er to target, no matter how strong Huo Xiaoge is, his teammates may not be enough to see. After much thought, she suddenly came up with a solution. She shouted in her heart, "Wang Dong, you are truly a genius," and then sat happily on the bed to start practicing. However, this time, her way of operating her soul power was somewhat different from usual. Thanks to Huo Xiaoge's notes, it records the cultivation routes of soul masters in different directions in great detail. 3 months passed quickly. Huo Yuhao didn't do anything particularly outstanding. He only attended classes, practiced, grilled fish, and practiced at night. During last week's class with Zhou, Wang Dong and Qiu'er helped them take notes. Halfway through, he visited the Soul Guidance Department once, and the senior told him that only second-grade students can choose to take the Soul Guidance Department. However, only Qiu'er and Wang Dong know about his promotion. In 3 months, it was already enough for Huo Yuhao to consolidate his rapidly improving soul and spiritual power, and at the same time, he found a cultivation path that was very suitable for himself, and raised his soul power to the next level. Now, with the refining of the essence of the soul rising pill in the eyes of fate, he has become a soul master who has reached the bottleneck of level 20. This surprised Wang Dong greatly. She changed the track and became more demanding in her cultivation, but that's not the reason why Huo Xiaoge caught up so much. She hasn't been as lazy as before this period of time, and can even be said to be giving it her all. Nevertheless, she has just crossed the threshold of level 24. As for Qiu'er, neither Huo Yuhao nor Wang Dong could figure out where her cultivation was, and she had always refused to let Wang Dong test her soul power. And Huo Yuhao is already considering other things. If there are no changes in the future, he plans to accumulate soul power first and then follow the guidance of Heavenly Dream to obtain soul rings during the holiday. In this way, when he obtains the soul ring, the accumulated soul power will burst out, which should be able to elevate his level. Huo Yuhao also actively sought practical training from Qiu'er. He believes that rather than just physical training, it is better to improve combat skills and physical fitness together in hand-to-hand combat, which is more practical than Zhou Yi's lap running method. The fact has proven that this method is indeed very effective. Qiu'er was already a skilled fighter, and Huo Yuhao gained a lot from fighting against her. He was knocked down within the first 3 moves, and after 3 months, he was able to play a few moves against her. His physical fitness and combat awareness also improved significantly. Later, Wang Dong also joined such training. Obviously, she also felt that this was more effective than Zhou Yi's method. As the class monitor, she even took the initiative to organize class competitions in physical fitness classes, specifically targeting Zhou Yi. The position of class monitor in this class should have been that of Qiu'er, but she always competes with Zhou Yi, but unfortunately, she can complete tasks every time, making Zhou Yi shiver and feel speechless. However, only after appointing Wang Dong did she realize that he was also very rebellious. The strongest soul warrior in the class are 2 stingers. What can she do? If you really dismiss them, it's like taking the initiative to lower your admission rate. Her Zhou Yi's rate of enrollment is impressive, and to some extent, she achieved it by having enough underperforming students. She didn't expect to have such a time of swallowing her pride. On that day, Huo Yuhao brought Wang Dong and Qiu'er again, intending to practice more. Huo Xiaoge is really a training maniac. Wang Dong covered his head and looked very headache-stricken. Come on, come on. Huo Yuhao and Wang Dong have really turned into pure brotherly friendship, and he mocked Wang Dong. If you don't come over, are you lying in bed again? Hurry up, this time we'll still fight against Qiu'er. Yes, yes. Wang Dong shook his butterfly wings in frustration, who said I'm lying dead. Have I been working hard lately, okay? I can't even take a day off, devil. Before she could finish speaking, Qiu'er quickly approached the two of them. Her excellent physical fitness supported her speed. Her first goal is Wang Dong. In this confrontation, all three individuals were allowed to use an ordinary wooden stick as a weapon. With a flip of her wrist, Qiu'er's wooden stick in her hand struck Wang Dong's head straight. This speed, to outsiders, was not like sparring, but rather like taking Wang Dong's life. But Huo Yuhao watched calmly, knowing that Wang Dong could avoid it and that Qiu'er had already left his hand. In such a battle, Huo Yuhao would not open up the sharing of spiritual detection. After all, it was originally training to sharpen combat instincts. However, Wang Dong twisted sideways and, without the need for mental detection sharing, used his speed to turn away Qiu'er's stick. Speed. Wang Dong's butterfly wings were vibrating at an astonishing speed, and at this moment her flying speed was beyond that of an ordinary butterfly martial soul. Her way of bypassing the rule of only one strong attack type is to train herself in a sensitive attack type way. Fortunately, she can pass the selection when reporting. This does not affect her strong attack skills, but rather gives her a new understanding of the mutual achievement of speed and strength. Qiu'er didn't seem to care about the missed blow, so she immediately turned her head and swept the stick towards Huo Yuhao. Huo Yuhao suddenly retreated, leaving half of his body open. He pushed his wooden stick forward and used skillful force to collide head-on with Qiu'er's wooden stick. At the moment of collision, both of their wooden sticks broke instantly, and the two flying sticks pointed straight at Wang Dong, who deftly turned around and dodged away. Qiu'er looked at the broken wooden stick in her hand, lost in thought. She said, "That's it for today." Huo Yuhao was delighted in his heart. For the first time in 3 months, he had interrupted Qiu'er's weapon. In the past, it was his weapon that suffered. Wang Dong shouted, "I haven't started yet, how did it end?" "Alright, let's save some energy," Huo Yuhao said. "The list of candidates will be announced for the upcoming courses, right?" "Yeah," Qiu'er said, "there are a total of 62 people in our class. I don't know how that woman will arrange it." Huo Yuhao smiled and said, "I just hope I don't run into your team." Speaking of this, he actually has some regrets. He is not in the same class as Qiu'er, and it is highly likely that they will become opponents, which is why he is crazily training his close combat skills. Once she gets along with Qiu'er's team, she knows herself too well and must have the means to protect herself, otherwise the mental detection shared by her teammates will be cut off, and they will basically lose in front of Qiu'er. After chatting for a while, the three of them returned to the teaching building and waited for class. Huo Yuhao is still a bit nervous about the new student assessment. Although his soul power at level 20 can at least meet the qualified standards in the new student assessment, he certainly wants to try to compete for the championship. He hoped to know who his teammates were earlier, so when the teacher came on stage to announce the list, he was very excited and nervous. However, the teacher finished reciting the names of all the classmates in the class, but did not mention him. Below is the free team time, everyone can exchange it privately. After saying these words, the teacher walked over to Huo Yuhao and softly said, "Yuhao, the teacher didn't read your name just now because there weren't many students in the class who had the intention to form a team with you when collecting team opinions, and the order given to you was also relatively low. There are 94 people in our class, 3 in a group, and there is exactly 1 person left. Please check if there are any classmates willing to exchange with you during the exchange time. If not, I can only ask other classes if there are any teams willing to take you with them. You will definitely find the team, don't worry." Huo Yuhao's eyes only dimmed slightly for a moment, then he smiled and shook his head at the teacher, saying, "It's okay, teacher. I can understand." But he had no intention of actively exchanging. Because no one in the class knows the role of his first soul skill, naturally no one is willing to team up with him. Therefore, he is more willing to wait for the allocation, and he is confident that any teammate can achieve a good ranking. Xiaohua card spirit detection sharing, whoever uses it will agree. It wasn't until almost the end of class that the teacher hurriedly walked up to him again and said, "Yuhao, the team has been found for you. I'll take you to meet your teammates now." Huo Yuhao obediently followed the teacher and walked towards class one of the freshmen. He suddenly had a bold and joyful guess. Because the induction induced by the attribute told him that Qiu'er was standing inside. Therefore, he didn't even open his mind detection to see, he wanted to witness the surprise with his eyes. But when he really walked into the classroom, not only was there Qiu'er standing inside, but also, Wang Dong'er. When the two of them saw Huo Yuhao, their eyes also lit up. Okay, we don't even need to break in now. After 3 months of special training, they already knew each other's roots and depths. Zhou, standing behind the two of them, spoke up, "Is this the remaining student in your class?" The word, "the rest," is very unfriendly. Zhou herself is not very friendly to Huo Yuhao, and as long as she is not a student she likes, she will not give too much face. Huo Yuhao's teacher patted his shoulder and said, "Go ahead, Yuhao. During this time, you should follow teacher Zhou and your teammates." She thought Huo Yuhao would be afraid, because in her impression, Huo Yuhao has always been a quiet and shy, but hardworking and serious student. But she didn't expect that Huo Yuhao walked to Qiu'er's side with his head held high and his chest held high, neither humble or arrogant. He pretended to extend his right hand and said, "Hello, meet me. My name is Huo Yuhao. I think the assessment for the new student we are working with should have been very smooth." Qiu'er blinked and shook his hand, saying, "Hello, I'm Qiu'er, and I also think it would be very pleasant to work with you in this assessment." Wang Dong'er rolled his eyes aside. "What kind of play are you two playing? Please follow up, collect and recommend tickets. This is really important to me. Thank you all."